So here's the strategy for these conversations, and maybe take a screenshot of this. Especially I saw there's one of you who is a consultant, and you said, how do I help and support teachers? So maybe take a screenshot of this as a consultant if you're a consultant watching, and this will help you, because I've definitely used this in my consulting. So when you are working with people and you're starting this conversation, I want you to start with the heart. You've got to get your heart right, or the words are not going to come. And I found that over and over. You can't just have a conversation without searching your heart and surrendering the things that you cannot control, right? Releasing the things that are not serving you, and releasing the mindsets, maybe around some judgments that you formed around this person. Maybe you've assigned motives, which we all do, right? We all assign motives. Like, for example, the girl who called in 31 times, it's like, she's a flake. She just doesn't care. She's irresponsible. I assign all of these motives to her, which I may be completely wrong, right? So I have to start with the heart, remove all of those preconceived judgments that I have about her, and move forward and make the decision, the best decision for the kids in my program. And then we have to kind of evaluate our emotions, right? Am I high? Am I low? Where am I? Prepare and pray. If you're a praying person, getting your heart right. If you're a person of faith, I think for me, I am. And that's an important part for me, to kind of surrender those words so that I don't come across as a really ugly, hateful person. Because if we're honest, every one of us has ugliness and hatefulness in us that can come out when we get squeezed. And so we have to really check that. And then, of course, cultivating courage. It takes a lot of courage to have these conversations. But again, if you go into the conversation, not trying to blame, not trying to shame, but with unity in mind, I think that is really, really important as well. And then when you're in the conversation, you got to separate your fact from fiction. Separating the motives that you decide that you're going to assign to people, you have to separate the fact from the fiction. You've got to lean in and be a listener. That's why we have one mouth and two ears, right? I'm sure you probably said that to your children, but lean in and listen. Listen for what they're saying, because they may have reasons. This is what we know. There's never an excuse for really bad behavior or acting against your culture, or not specifically and intentionally, repeatedly not following policies that are in the best interest for the kids and the center and the school. But there's always a reason. So it doesn't mean it's an excuse, but there's a reason for the behavior, for the actions, for the conversation. And so as you're walking through that, I want you to remember that. Also, engage with empathy. Empathy is a ninja skill that people need to have. You've got to be able to feel what other people feel, and then weigh your words, because words are like toothpaste. Like maybe you went to youth camp when you were a kid and you saw the toothpaste analogy, which is where the counselor will pull out a toothpaste tube and walk around, everybody squeeze out the toothpaste. Now try to put it back in the tube. You can't do it. Your words are like a toothpaste tube, right? Once they come out, you can't put them back. So weigh your words before you say them. And then after it's over, you have to surrender the outcome. If you go into it with the right heart, with the right motives, with the right mindset in mind, keeping unity as the goal of the conversation, you have to surrender the outcome. You don't know how someone's going to react or respond to that. And that's up to them. That's not up to you. Also, keep it confidential. This is what we know. Probably the majority of you watching are women, I would assume. Ashton, I know that you are not, but this is what we know, that women tend to gossip a little bit more than men if you just look at that statistically. And what is crazy is when we gossip, our body, our brain produces endorphins. Endorphins make you happy. That's like the happy hormone, the happy pheromone, right? And so your body, there have been studies done on the way that your body responds. So it's like when you have tea to spill, you get a high, like you get an excitement, like, ooh, let me tell you what I heard here. And so I told a story at a training recently. It was a group of centers, and I'd worked with this one owner for 20 plus years, and she's grown and added centers. And years ago, and no one really knew this person, that I thought one of her directors had an affair with a dad in the center, and the mom found out, and the mom came in and like punched the director in the face. Like they had an all-out fist fight at the center with kids present, with teachers present. I mean, it was like an episode of Jerry Springer reality TV. It was crazy that happened. And so as I began to tell the story, I mean, they were on their edges, like, who was it? Who was the parent? What center was it? I mean, everybody was like so excited, like I was giving them a gift to tell them this juicy story. But it's true. It's the way that our body responds when we think we're going to get tea. So what's really important is that if you have the courage to go to someone and have this conversation, keep it confidential. It doesn't have to be shared between all of the other people who are at the center. And then, of course, reevaluate your response. Like, how did you respond? How did that land? Were you receptive or were you active? And then can you cultivate kindness through it?